Visions of Truth, The Last to Know. Part 1. The Dress and the Storm. The morning sun should have felt like a kiss on the skin. Birds chirped like it was any other day in late spring. The air was warm, soft, and laced with the perfume of blooming jasmine that wrapped around the wrought iron gate of the Lewis family estate. Inside the bridal suite, Annie Lewis stood before a floor-length mirror, her wedding gown clutched delicately at the waist. The lace hugged her figure, hand-stitched by a local seamstress whose grandmother had sewn gowns for Southern belles and debutantes in a bygone era. It was the kind of gown that made people cry just looking at it. But Annie wasn't crying from joy. Her reflection didn't look like a woman preparing for her happiest day. Her eyes were hollow, shoulders stiff. Something inside her, a quiet whisper, like a wisp of smoke, had been tugging at her soul for weeks. It wasn't nerves. It wasn't cold feet. It was something deeper, a sacred unease. A soft knock tapped on the door. "Annie?" Her sister Mary's voice came through. Annie turned from the mirror. "Come in." Mary entered with her trademark sugar-sweet smile and a bouquet of lavender roses. Her long auburn hair tumbled over her shoulders, flawless as ever. She had always been the glamorous one, the one who knew how to make any room lean in. She kissed Annie on the cheek and held her hand. "You look breathtaking. Anthony won't know what hit him." Annie tried to smile, but her face barely cooperated. "Thanks." Mary tilted her head. "You okay?" Annie's eyes met hers. For a moment, something flickered. Something just beneath Mary's carefully curated expression. Guilt? Pity? "I'm just tired," Annie said. Mary gave her a long hug, longer than usual. "You deserve every happiness, sis." And with that, she left the room. That was when the whisper returned. "Watch the hands that help you," it said. It wasn't her imagination. Annie staggered back and gripped the edge of the vanity. Her heart was pounding, and not from fear, from knowing. She closed her eyes, and the vision came. Not like a dream, not like a daydream, a vision. It hit her like a flash of lightning. Anthony, shirtless, a gold chain around his neck, a woman under him, breathless, gripping his back. She saw Mary. Part 2. Visions of the Unseen. When Annie woke on the floor of the bridal suite, the vision still burned behind her eyes. She clutched her chest, half sobbing, half silent. Was it real? Could that be true? Then came the second wave. Another vision. This time, Anthony again, but now with Kylie, her childhood friend. They laughed together in a hotel room, champagne bubbling in glasses, clothes all around the room. Kylie was giggling, sitting on his lap. The timestamp on the hotel receipt on the nightstand said, 2 weeks ago. Annie screamed. The bridal assistant, Julia, rushed in. "Miss Lewis, are you all right?" Annie scrambled to her feet, her veil torn and hair tousled. "Cancel the wedding." "Ma'am, cancel the wedding," Annie yelled, louder this time. Julia stood frozen. Annie, suddenly resolute, grabbed her phone and marched out of the room, her bare feet slapping against the marble floors. She found her father in the drawing room, cigar in hand. "Dad, I need you to trust me," she said. "Call the guests. Tell them there's been a change of plans." Without waiting for his stunned reply, she left the house. Part 3. The Eyes of the Spirit. She drove with no destination, only purpose. Stopping at a small chapel on the edge of town, Annie stumbled inside. It was empty except for a janitor who gave her a respectful nod and stepped out. She fell to her knees at the altar. "God, what are you trying to show me?" The visions weren't hallucinations. Annie had been having dreams for months. Fragmented images, strange whispers, cold chills in warm rooms. She hadn't understood them until now. There, in that old chapel, something opened inside her, like the veil had been lifted. As she wept, a warm breeze, unnatural from nowhere, brushed her face. Then came another vision, not of Anthony this time, but of Mary and Kylie, standing in Annie's bedroom, searching through drawers. Mary whispered, "It'll all be over soon. Then we get everything." Kylie replied, "You sure the pills will work?" Annie gasped. They were going to unalive her. She saw it all clearly. Mary had slipped something into her tea a week ago, something to cause fainting spells. It had already begun to affect her. Kylie had stolen keys to her medicine cabinet. They were slowly preparing to make her death look like a suicide. Overwhelmed bride, broken heart, tragic ending, and Anthony, he wasn't just cheating. He was in on it. Part 4. The Unraveling. Annie's first instinct was to flee, but instead, she went to her cousin James, a private investigator and a man of quiet strength and fierce loyalty. "I need proof," she told him, "and protection." Within 2 days, James had surveillance on Anthony, Mary, and Kylie. The evidence came fast. Anthony visiting Kylie's apartment late at night, secret messages between Mary and Anthony on a hidden app, a package containing sedatives delivered to Kylie's door, audio recording from a wiretap in Mary's car discussing Annie's accidental overdose. It was worse than Annie imagined. They were planning to fake a suicide note and have it discovered by Anthony the morning after the honeymoon. The motive? A trust fund Annie didn't even realize had been activated on her wedding day, worth nearly $3 million. She had become a target, betrayed by her fiancé, her sister, her best friend. Part 5. Vengeance or grace. James asked her if she wanted to go to the police. Annie shook her head. "Not yet." "What do you want to do?" "I want to let God handle it, but I want the truth to be seen." So they staged it. Annie pretended to go through with the wedding preparations, acting distant but cooperative. Meanwhile, James set up hidden cameras and voice recorders in her home. On the night before the rescheduled wedding, Annie hosted a small family dinner. Mary, Kylie, and Anthony sat at the table like nothing was wrong. Then Annie stood and raised a glass. "To love," she said. They smiled awkwardly. "To truth," she added. Mary's smile faltered. Kylie looked down. "To the God who sees what's done in secret." Anthony chuckled, but it sounded hollow. Annie pressed a button on her phone. A speaker in the room clicked on. Mary's voice filled the space. "The pills will work. She won't feel a thing." Then Kylie. "After the honeymoon, she'll be gone. You get the money, and we're free." Anthony jumped up. "This is crazy." James stepped out from the hallway, gun holstered but visible. "Sit down." Part 6. Breaking chains. The trio was arrested that night. The recordings were handed over to the authorities. The sedatives were tested and traced. Even the fake suicide note had already been drafted in Mary's handwriting. Their plan unraveled faster than they could defend themselves. The town was in shock. Annie took time away after that. Time to heal, to grieve, to forgive. The betrayal had wounded her, but it had also awakened her. She realized she had ignored her instincts for too long, silenced her spirit, avoided the God who had been whispering to her all along. In the quiet of a seaside retreat, she prayed daily, journaled, and walked barefoot through sand and sea foam. She reconnected with who she was, not the obedient daughter or the perfect bride, but a woman of discernment and strength. One morning, while sipping tea on a porch overlooking the waves, a voice interrupted her thoughts. "Excuse me," the man said. "Mind if I sit here?" He was of medium build, olive-skinned, dark hair, with gentle eyes and a presence that felt safe. His name was Micah. He was the new owner at the retreat center. A widower. Quiet. Kind. They started talking over breakfast, then long walks, then early morning prayers. He never pressured, never probed. He simply saw her. Weeks turned to months. One night, as they watched the sunset, Annie said, "I used to think love was about butterflies, drama, fireworks, but now I think it's about peace." Micah nodded. Peace is the loudest kind of love. Part 7. Love after the fire. Annie returned home a different woman. Her past had been scorched, yes, but new life was rising in the ashes. Mary, Anthony, and Kylie were sentenced for conspiracy, attempted murder, and fraud. She never visited them in prison, but she wrote them each a letter. "I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace." Annie didn't need revenge. Her victory was in her survival, her clarity, her vision. When Micah asked her to marry him under the blooming dogwoods of a quiet chapel, she said yes, not from fear of loneliness, but from fullness of heart. At the wedding, her gown was simpler. No ballroom, no chandeliers, just sunlight, truth, and love. And as she walked down the aisle in her simple wedding dress, barefoot in the grass, Annie finally smiled, not just with her lips, but with her whole being, because she had learned that betrayal could not define her, and death could not take her. She had walked through the valley of the shadow of death and found light on the other side. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with a friend, give it a like, and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you won't miss the next upload. Thanks for watching. Stay blessed.